Here's something that should make you angry. For decades, psychologists told us the secret to success was simple. Just learn to delay gratification. Wait for the bigger reward. Be patient. Be disciplined. They even had a famous experiment to prove it. A child. A marshmallow. A choice. Wait 15 minutes and you get 2 marshmallows. And according to the original research, the kids who waited grew up to be more successful, richer, and healthier. This study was taught in schools. Quoted by CEOs. Referenced in thousands of self-help books. There's just one problem. In 2024, researchers from Columbia University ran the most comprehensive replication of that study ever conducted. 702 participants. Followed from age 4 all the way to age 26. Their conclusion? The Marshmallow Test does not reliably predict adult outcomes. The whole thing, one of the most quoted studies in psychology, collapsed under scrutiny. And this matters far more than just one debunked experiment. Because most of what we've been told about why some people escape poverty and build wealth from zero is just as wrong. Today we go deeper. The real psychology, the dark, uncomfortable, research-backed truth. About what actually separates people who get rich from zero from everyone else who stays stuck. The first thing you need to understand is this. Most people who stay broke are not weak. They're not lazy. Their brain is working exactly as it was designed to. Just in the wrong direction. Here's what the science actually says. When researchers studied people under financial stress, they found that scarcity doesn't just affect your wallet. It physically changes your brain's operation. The part of the brain responsible for long-term planning, the prefrontal cortex, goes quiet under financial stress. And the part that screams for immediate reward, lights up louder. Psychology calls this tunneling. Your mind locks onto the immediate problem so hard that it literally loses the ability to see long-term opportunity. Not figuratively, neurologically. This is why telling someone in poverty to just think long-term is like telling someone with a broken leg to just run faster. But here's where it gets interesting. The people who escape this trap, the ones who go from zero to something real, aren't people who had more willpower. They're people who found a way to interrupt the tunnel. To create just enough psychological breathing room that their brain could see past next week. And that interruption, it almost never came from discipline. Came from something far stranger and far more powerful. Here's the darkest truth in all of wealth psychology. Most people try to change their behavior first. Save more. Spend less. Work harder. But research from identity economics, a field pioneered by Nobel Prize-winning economist George Akerlof, shows that economic decisions are inseparable from identity. What you believe you are determines what you will and won't do with money, automatically, unconsciously, without any effort at all. In plain terms, if your deep inner identity is, I'm someone who struggles financially, your brain will find a way to confirm that belief every single time. Not out of weakness, out of psychological consistency. People in poverty will sometimes spend money on luxury items. Not because they're irrational, but because identity economics explains that people make economic sacrifices to preserve identity and belonging. Spending becomes a signal, even to themselves, that they are not defined by their poverty. Now here's what the people who actually escape do differently. Research published in 2025 puts it bluntly. Individuals must reframe themselves as capable economic actors rather than permanent subjects of scarcity. Without this psychological shift, financial tools often remain underused or misused. The identity shifts before the money arrives, not after. You've heard stories of people who win the lottery and lose everything within 5 years. That's not bad luck. That's a person with a zero identity suddenly holding rich person money. The identity pulls them back. And you've heard stories of people who lost everything. Businesses collapsed, bankrupt, starting over at 40, and rebuilt again. That's not luck either. Their identity never moved. The money left. They stayed. The first real move people who get rich from zero make is not financial. It's psychological. They stop narrating themselves as someone that success happens to, and start narrating themselves as someone success happens through. Here's a question most people never ask themselves honestly. Why do I need to know it will work before I try? The brain has a deep ancient preference for certainty. Unpredictability registers in the same neural region as physical danger. Your brain genuinely cannot tell the difference between, I don't know if this business will succeed, and there might be a predator nearby. Both trigger the same alarm system. So most people, unconsciously wait. They wait for the right moment, the right amount of savings, the right sign, the right level of certainty. And certainty never fully comes. What research consistently shows about people who build wealth from nothing is not that they are fearless. It's that they developed a different relationship with fear. They felt the uncertainty and moved anyway, not because they were braver, but because they had reframed uncertainty as information rather than as danger. A failed attempt wasn't evidence that they couldn't succeed. It was data about what to do differently. This is a specific learnable psychological shift. And it's one of the most powerful separators between people who stay stuck and people who don't. Because if you need certainty before you move, you will spend your entire life waiting. The original idea on this topic will tell you, people who build wealth learn to control their emotions. That's partially true, but it's the wrong framing. And the wrong framing leads to the wrong strategy. Because research in effective neuroscience now shows that emotions are not obstacles. They're information. Wealthy individuals who make consistently good financial decisions don't suppress fear. They interrogate it. When fear arises around a business decision, around an investment, around leaving a job, people who've built wealth from nothing don't automatically obey that fear or automatically dismiss it. They pause and ask, is this fear telling me about a real risk? Or is this old programming from when I had nothing? That distinction is everything. Here's the dark part nobody talks about. A 2024 study from Social Psychological and Personality Science found something that genuinely shocked researchers. People who were born poor and became wealthy were, contrary to everyone's expectations, less sensitive to the struggles of the poor. Not more. The working assumption was, people who came from nothing would have more empathy for others with nothing. Lived experience creates understanding. But what actually happened neurologically is this. Once the identity shift occurs, once the brain rewires itself to function in a wealth context, it starts to lose access to the felt sense of what scarcity actually felt like. The emotional memory fades. And what replaces it is often a belief that, if I did it, others can too, which sounds inspiring but quietly erases the structural barriers that made it so hard. This doesn't make self-made people bad. It makes them human. And it makes the emotional journey of building from zero darker and more complex than any motivational video will ever tell you. There's a version of this insight in almost every wealth psychology video. Don't chase status. Build skills. Skills create opportunities. True. But incomplete. Here's what's actually happening psychologically. When people with very little try to signal status, the expensive clothes, the flashy car before they can afford it, they're not being foolish. They're trying to manage identity. They're trying to perform the version of themselves they want to become. And in small doses, this is actually backed by research. Identity priming works. Saying, I'm an investor instead of, I'm trying to invest, creates measurable behavioral differences. Your brain begins to act in alignment with the identity you declare. The problem is when the performance costs more than you're building. When the signal of wealth becomes a substitute for the construction of it. People who genuinely rise from zero almost always hit a point where they make a quiet, internal decision. I would rather actually be it than look like it. Not because they're more virtuous, but because they've done the math, consciously or not, and realized that looking successful spends resources while building skills accumulates them. Skills compound. Image depreciates. And the deepest layer of this, once you have a strong enough identity as someone who builds, the need to perform it externally shrinks. The internal becomes more real than the external. That's the shift. And it doesn't happen from discipline. It happens from depth. So what does all of this actually mean? It means the gap between people who build wealth from zero and everyone else is not a gap in information. Not a gap in opportunity. Not even a gap in effort. It's a gap in identity. A gap in how the brain has been shaped by the experience of scarcity. A gap in the stories people tell themselves about who they are and what's possible for them. And here's what makes that both hard and hopeful at the same time. Circumstances are hard to change. But identity, with the right understanding, the right environment, the right pressure, can shift. Research shows it. History shows it. The people who have done it show it. The Marshmallow Test was wrong. Willpower isn't the answer. The real answer is darker, deeper, and far more interesting. Starts not with what you have. Starts with who you decide you are.